everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Franny and I'm one half of the Indecisive Readers. Today I'm here to do my January wrap up. In January I read 11 books, one better read and one DNF, so I don't know how many books you want to count that as. I read 4,243 pages excluding again the better read and the DNF, and I had an average of 3.2 stars. I'm surprised my rating is only 3.2 stars, but I think that's because I read a lot of average books, but I also read some I really enjoyed, and then on the other hand I had a couple I really didn't. I'm going to go through the books I have. First I'll go through my prompts and the books relevant, and then I'll go through the extra ones I read. So the first prompt I had was a cat pick, and my cats chose The Chrissy Affair by Nina de Gramont. I rated this one 3 stars. I found it very like an Agatha Christie novel actually, but less mystery, but very like an Agatha Christie in that I just rated it 3 stars, thought it was okay, kind of read it but didn't get invested in it, which is very like how I feel with Agatha Christie novels. It really picked up in like the last third, which was probably about 100 pages from the end, where there was actually a mystery, but I think that's kind of what surprised me. I don't know whether I necessarily expected this to be a mystery, but because it's about Agatha Christie's disappearance and the mistress of her husband, I kind of expected her to be searching for Agatha more, and she wasn't. But to be honest, the whole premise of being an adulteress, someone who cheats, whatever her motivations, which you find out at some point, just don't sit well with me. I don't enjoy books where cheating is a big part, so I think I just thought this would be more about the mystery than about the romance / not romance. The next book I read was for the prompt non-fiction, and so I read Gender Rebels by Anika Harry. I rated this one 1 or 2 stars, I think, depending on the day you ask me. I did finish it and therefore I feel like I should rate it 2 stars, but I did think it was not great whilst I was reading it. Basically, it's written as if a 13-year-old feminist on Tumblr wrote a book. It's very like cringy, it's very like trying to be down with the kids but unsuccessfully, and it just made it difficult to read. It was really interesting in terms of content. It's like 50 influential cross-dressers, impersonators, name changers and game changers throughout history, so from Hatshepsut up to 2019, and it's amazing all the kind of characters that are covered. It just doesn't do it one well, like in terms of not cringily, but 2 like carefully. It's very like, I can't think of the word, but there's one point where there is a female relationship and they don't know the name of the other half, so like the lesbian lover, so for ease of convenience they call her Ellen DeGeneres. Like, any name. They didn't need to give her a surname, but they decided to go for Ellen DeGeneres, which is weird and ugh. And then also there was a Native American woman who dressed as a man, and their name started with a QU, and so constantly the author was making duck jokes, and that's just not okay. And so that was kind of the tone of various parts in this book. Like I said, it was interesting, but I feel like I didn't learn a lot more than I could have done from like a Wikipedia article. It was like 50 Wikipedia articles. Then I have 2 books for the next prompt, basically because I didn't know which one I would get time to read, and I did actually get time to read both. So for the prompt secondhand book, I read Sabriel by Garth Nix, which I, again, just kind of felt like, not lukewarm, I enjoyed parts of it, but sometimes with audiobooks, if I don't get really into the book, I just kind of coast by and don't really like remember a lot about the book. And this was one of these. I liked Sabriel, I kind of liked the world building, I did kind of like the quest, but I just wasn't excited by the quest. I think the romance didn't add to the story but also didn't subtract, so like I didn't mind it, but I was a bit like, oh, of course there's a romance. So I think I'll try the next one in the series because everyone's told me that one's like quite good, and also just because I can also get the audiobooks of those from the library, and sometimes I just need an audiobook to pick up. The second book I had for the prompt was The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. Sorry, I don't know how to say that. Which I also rated 3 stars. I don't want to say I was disappointed by this one, but it just didn't sit with me as well as I hoped it would. It wasn't like the cute fluffy romance I thought it was, mainly because the love interest really annoyed me, just because of the topic. Because the whole topic is there's a henna war, like both these girls are setting up a henna stand for their school like competition. One of them, henna is their culture, the other one is just appropriating culture, and I just couldn't understand how we were meant to feel sympathetic, how we were meant to like the love interest when she doesn't really care that she's appropriating someone else's culture. And even when she does like address it, she doesn't really address it and she doesn't really apologise, and I'm not convinced she really learns from it. So yeah, I liked the main character's relationship with her sister, but wasn't 100% for me. And also there's the whole force outing, or not even force outing, but against your wishes outing, and I think we can do away with that. For the next prompt I had to read a book with a mythical creature, I think, and so for that I read The Beast and the Bethany, Revenge of the Beast by Jack Meggitt Phillips. This is the sequel to The Beast and the Bethany, which I read for a blog tour a couple of years ago. I also read this sequel for a blog tour, and you know what, I'm really glad I picked up the next book in the series, because I really enjoyed The Beast and the Bethany. But I think this one was a lot better. I honestly, had I not had work and my own beast, my own dog, to pay attention to, I probably would have sat down and read this all in one go. I just really enjoyed it. I had a great time reading it. It was really easy to read. I really liked seeing Bethany and Ebenezer kind of interact. Some of the history to Ebenezer and the Beast made it more kind of not sympathetic, because the Beast is a horrible creature, but you could understand why he had spent so long in the kind of clutches of the Beast. I also really enjoyed when Bethany and Ebenezer were trying to do good, and they attempted to do good by putting the washing on and eating some soup, because that's what an old lady told them she did, and she looked like a good character. I think Bethany was really sweet in this. I really enjoyed how she was trying to be good, but also kept up that mischievous thing, but it was almost like she was being mischievous for the sake of making other people have fun, rather than it being malicious. And she could see when it was going wrong, she was not sure about this. So I really enjoyed that. I rated it 4 stars and I had a great time with it. The next prompt I had was to read a book published the year you were born. I thought I would have no books for this, and I didn't, but Sabriel was published around the year I was born, so I should have gone with that. But instead I chose a punishment, and my punishment was to read a book over 600 pages long. So for that I read Fire by Angie Sage, because this is 700 pages. Admittedly it's only a middle grade and the pages are shorter, but it fit the prompt, so we're going to go with it. So glad to have finally read this. This is the final book in the Septimus Heap series, a book I have been putting off for just under 10 years. I think it's about 8 years. And every year I keep going, I'm going to read it this year, I'm going to read it this year. And I was like, nope, this year I'm going to finish the first 6 books. And this is going to be the first book I read in 2022, because, I'm going to start the year on a high. Now, I didn't rate it 5 stars, which I'm not necessarily disappointed by, because I don't want to say I'm trying to give out fewer 5-star ratings, but I want to be genuinely mean the 5-star ratings I'm given, and I didn't want to just give this one a 5-star rating because I was feeling nostalgic and not having read it before way. But I really enjoyed it. It's very different from the previous 6 in the series, because the previous 6 are they're going on an adventure, they're finding out new things. It was amazing how many new things I found out in this one, despite having been in this world for so many years. There was so many bits about the castle, about the wizard tower that I didn't know before, and about alchemy, so that was really cool. It was more kind of less adventure and more destination, so Jenna did a lot more to become queen, and Wolf Boy was there with Aunt Zelda, and it was a lot more about kind of reaching that point you've been looking for ages. You've been reading about these characters, you've been growing up with them, so it was really nice to see them a bit more grown up. But it still promises things in future books. There weren't conclusions completely. And so I'm hoping this month, maybe next, to pick up Pathfinder, which is the next book in the series. Next like mini series, and I'm so excited for that. I think it's going to be really good. I'm really excited. Oh, maybe I don't want to read it because I want to read it first so I can see all the pictures. Maybe I won't read it this month. We'll see. Anyway, so the final prompt I had was to read a book which I've heard good things about. So for that I chose As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, which is the third book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I read the first and second in December last year, and the audiobook finally came in for this, and I rated it 4 stars because genuinely I don't think I've ever been so stressed reading a book. Just because Pip is such a clever character, and not that she makes stupid decisions in this, but she makes an impulsive decision, which I don't blame her for at all. She just makes a decision and it's a bad one, and it really stressed me out. And usually I can listen to audiobooks whilst I'm doing like some work if it's like a bit mindless, because I can like just switch off a bit and listen, and it was stressing me out too much to listen to whilst I was working. So I really enjoyed it. I took some twists I wasn't expecting, obviously, but after having sat on it for a while, I don't think I was as surprised by the reveal in this one. To be honest, in the second one as well, but this one, I kind of saw it coming, which wasn't a bad thing. Like, how it was resolved was really clever. I like the characters in it still, and I do like how there are like clues scattered throughout, so you can work it out. So I suppose that's not a bad thing, but you know, probably not my favourite in the series. I think my favourite is definitely the first one, but I think I may reread the first 3 this year, like physically, because I only listen to them as audiobooks, and whilst they are great as audiobooks, well, this one looks like it's just kind of written. There's like some stuff. Anyway, I've never read them physically, and I know people also like rate them highly as a physical book, so I might try and do that this year. Whilst I'm on the topic of Holly Jackson, I also read Killjoy, which was the short story published for World Book Day a few years ago, I think, or something like that. And it's like set before the main books, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like a short kind of glimpse into the world. I really want to do a murder mystery themed party now, so I think that's going to be like my aim for this year. And it set up like the rest of the series really well, so it's like one you could read first, or like if you read it afterwards, like the events of the like other books make a lot of sense. So I think that was really effectively done. Rated that one 4 stars. I also read Curso, Dark and Lonely by Brigid, Kemmer, I think. This was one of the 12 books that people recommended I read in 2022, and I had a great time with it also. It was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I kind of didn't really know a lot about it before I went into it, so I was really excited to pick it up. I really enjoyed the character relationships in it, the romance, which wasn't like in your face, even though obviously it is because of like it being a Beauty and the Beast retelling and like the romance being a big thing. It was a really well done, I think, romance, because it was like a friendship, but also a partnership, as well as like a kind of enemies to lovers romance. And I think it was really, really great. I liked the characters in it. I would like to carry on reading the series. I've heard that there's another like part series coming out, so I'm very excited for that. And yeah, I had a great time with it. It was a great fun book. Then I also picked up The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder. This doesn't come out until, I think maybe it was last week actually, but I read this in January because my book turned up like a week early, and I was planning on like reading it as soon as it came through anyway. So obviously I was like, I'm gonna squeeze it into January so I can get my review in before. And again, I read it really quickly. I read it in like 2 or 3 days, and this was also a fairy tale retelling. This was so how did I describe it? It's Indiana Jones meets Sleeping Beauty, but gender bent, and also there's a queer romance. So it was just really cool. I had really high expectations for it. I did live up to it. I rated it 4 stars. I think the romance was really well done. I felt it was very like slow burn, but like genuine. Like you could see they genuinely cared for each other, but also that they weren't like forcing each other to fall in love, which was really good. I liked the world. Although we like travelled a lot, we didn't see a lot of it, so I'm looking forward to like the sequel, to seeing a bit more of it, because it is not all resolved in this. But also I feel like the friendship was kind of as, if not more important than the romance in this. I think Fee and Shane were on their own great characters, but as I said, together they were also fab. 10 out of 10 would recommend, but rated it 4 stars. It was very good though. So the other two, the first one I'm going to mention I can't really like tell a lot about because it is only a better read, but it was another retelling. It was fab, rated it 4 stars. It was like everything I want from a retelling. It had witches, it had like lore, it was feminist, a little bit spooky. That was great. As soon as like it comes out, I will be rereading many times, and I said to the author my rating would probably go up. I had a great time with it. The final book, which I had less of a great time with reading, was my DNF. That was Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors, I think is the name of the author. It just wasn't what I was expecting. Contemporary fiction and literary fiction just aren't my genre, so like I am not completely disappointed, but I had my fingers crossed that I was going to enjoy it anyway, because it had like characters exploring their identity, it had LGBT plus characters, it had a romance that didn't quite work, and I thought maybe sometimes contemporary fiction, sometimes literary fiction, I'm like, I get this. It wasn't it. I really enjoyed the first 30%, but like I DNF'd it at 50%, 57%, because they introduced a character. There was like an element of cheating. At first it was just like emotional cheating, and not even emotional cheating, they were just talking and they liked each other. And then there was physical cheating, and then it was a bit like graphically sexual, but like not in a sexy way. And then there was also like some animal neglect, and also then extending to animal abuse and animal death. And I was only reading it because I wanted to finish it, and it was like, oh, I've got to pick it up, read a couple of pages, and now I'm done, so I'll go and scroll through TikTok instead. And I just thought, I'll DNF review it, because I DNF review on NetGalley because I want to keep my rating up. But yeah, so that is my thought on my DNF. I'm proud of myself for DNFing, especially in January. Let's hope I can keep it up for the rest of the year. So these are the books I read in January. I'm really proud of having read this many because, I mean, I'm working. So I'm impressed I read as many. I think having a lot of audiobooks and a couple of middle grades helped. But also just enjoying the ones I was reading and then DNFing the one I didn't. So, you know, go me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below to let me know if you've read any of these or if you want to. Also let me know which books you read in January and which one your favourite was. And I will see you in another video.